I just got back from the countryside to Paris yesterday.
Okay.
For work. So all the movie sets are starting to start again, but it's very slow, and no one knows exactly how it's gonna happen, as we're not supposed to touch each other or touch the camera. So I don't know how it's possible to do it.
We'll be definitely talking about that, the situation in France versus situation in United States, situation in other European countries. We'll be touching about that point because, you know, we have the participants joining us from New York, especially from India also. There are some of you, some of the guys who have who you have actually met in New York Film Academy are also joining us in this meeting. I would love to hear it from Shri and Vivian. Vivian has turned on his video, but I cannot see him. Vivian.
Wait, I'm there. Sorry.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. How are you? Long time.
Long time no see. Definitely, definitely. So,
yes, so long. Where are you guys?
I came back to India like in March, and then I got like I'm just here now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got stuck.
So we met like I was there in New York till February. I was working there. Yeah.
Okay, and you went to India because of the virus, or you went there before?
Oh no, I went. I mean, I got here before the virus, and like it started the quarantine, like the whole thing started like a week after I got back here.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But did you go back to New York after that or no?
I hope so. I don't know yet. For now, it's a bit complicated because there's no planes, so I can still swim, but I don't know. But I would love to.
Okay. It's nice.
So,
but what about you, Navneet? Are you in the US or in India?
No, I came back to India.
Okay.
I actually planned on a short trip, just for like a couple of weeks, for like 1.5 months, but I ended up getting stuck over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been back in Toronto if everything would have been perfect. So we also have Shri with us. Naomi knows Shri.
Hi, Naomi. Hi, Naomi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. We met at NIFA. Sal introduced you to us, so I don't think. Yes. So yeah. So nice to see you, and looking forward to class.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I don't remember all the names because there were so many of you, but I remember everybody was so nice.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Shri. Shri is also going to be hosting a session very soon. I think it's on the Saturday this weekend. So Shri will be also joining us again. But definitely, Shri, thank you for joining us every day and you know, pitching in on your views about each topic. So Naomi, before we start, I would love to give all of you another brief of how do we do it. So each day we have a special guest. I mean, it's one of us, you know, one of us, a cinematographer, a filmmaker, or somebody from the industry who comes in and talks about a particular topic. Topic for today is life behind the camera. As you have transitioned from an actress to your life behind the camera. We'll be talking about that with Naomi tonight and today for you guys. But you know, this is how it works, and I love when everybody else chips in their own views. Like, you know, we can have a comment from Vivian, we can have a comment from Shri about the topic we are going to be talking about. So before we start, I would love to introduce all of you to Naomi. Naomi is a France-based cinematographer. If you go to her IMDb, I got shocked actually. You know what? I went to your IMDb and I got shocked. You have acted in 4, you know, different movies. I cannot pronounce these names, but I would love to share the screen with you guys. I'll be doing that now.
Yeah, the funniest thing is that actually I've done more films in front of the camera than behind the camera. So it's
How do you pronounce this? I've learned French for like 3 years, but I don't know how to pronounce these names. Can you pronounce them for us, please?
La Fête des Mères. So it's like Day of the Mom, like Mother's Day. Yeah.
So what was this movie about?
It was about, so it's a movie with multiple characters, and they're all living Mother's Day. So we discover different relationships of daughters and their mom or their little kids, and so it's yeah. But I had a small part in that movie. It was
What was
it was
exactly what was your role in the movie?
This one was just a girl, and she has a complicated relationship with her mom. So she doesn't want to go see her mom, even if it's Mother's Day. And then at the end, she decides to go.
So you were acting as like one of the daughters of a mom, right?
Yes, but not a very important one. It was not the main character.
Okay. There are 3 more works. They were done back in I think 2016 and 2014. So it has been a time for you, acting in movies. Then, if I see your IMDb page, right after this movie that you did, you transitioned into the camera department. How did that, transition happened? Just give us a brief, and then we'll talk about detail during this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I discovered movie sets as an actress before I got into film school, because I didn't know how to make a movie, and I didn't know how to do anything. So I figured that the best way I could go to a movie set was being an extra, like being in, the background and walking in the streets. And so I did that in a few movies. And then I met casting directors, and they started to put me on small parts, and then bigger and bigger parts. And so that's how I discovered movie sets. And then I met a cinematographer who was working on those sets, and I worked with her several times, and she explained her job to me, and I loved that. So I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And so that's where I decided to go to film school.
Yeah.
So in 2016, after Heaven Will Wait, I applied to cinematography school, and I got in. So I studied there for 3 years. And then when I got out, it was last year in 2019, and I started working as a camera assistant and a DP on short films.
So, Naomi, before we start with the detailed discussion, the question we ask the guest every day is that, do you support film school or are you against film school? Because, each guest we have talked to so far was, a student, a past student from a film school. So what are your take on it? Let's get that question out of the way first.
I think it depends on the kind of person you are. So I can just talk about myself, but I was a very shy person. So I think that if I didn't go to film school, I would have never found the courage to meet people and ask them for a job. So I think film school was really helpful to me, because it really gave me a network of people that I still work with. And the other thing is that before film school, the only thing I had done was acting. So I wasn't a technical person at all. So I had a lot to learn technically. And when I got into film school, I was so lost, because everyone knew so much, and they were asking questions to the teacher, and I couldn't even understand the questions. So I thought, okay, that's a good thing that I went to film school, because there's no way I could have figured out everything on my own.
By your own. Yeah, exactly. So
I also think I just wanted to say that also in France we have a good system, because a lot of schools are free. So I didn't really have to think about how I was going to pay for school, but I know that in the US it's a very big issue, and a lot of
expensive.
people, they just can't afford it. So they have to find other ways to learn. And I think that today there's also a lot of master classes online, or books you can read. So I think I know very good technicians and very good cinematographers, and they never went to film school. So I think that you don't have to go to film school to do this job, but for me it was definitely worth it.
Thank you for those comments, Naomi. But we talk about this in each session that it's a big part. It it takes a big amount of money to actually enter into a film school, especially in United States. And we'll be discussing differences on film schools in France or in European countries versus film schools, because you have been to different film schools while you were in New York, as you came to New York Film Academy, and then you met us. The meeting between us and Naomi in our class was like for a few moments, I'll say, but just by getting introduced to different cultures, and like how you approach movie and how we guys approach movies, and how it's a multicultural pack. Especially I believe that in a film school you just don't see movies through one window. You get different aspects, you get different ways of seeing the movie, especially like meeting people from different parts of the world. It gives you a different approach to see movies, right? So yeah, we'll be coming into detail about that, but definitely go check out Naomi's IMDb page. Definitely follow her on Instagram, and she also has a Wikipedia for some reason. I don't know why, but it is in French. So yeah, you should go and check that out.
This picture is horrible.
It's this one.
The funniest thing is that I actually had to put some pictures on my IMDb. I put this picture with me at the camera myself, because every time I was applying for a job, people would say, why are you applying to be a cinematographer? You're an actress. And I was like, I'm not an actress anymore. So I put a picture with me in the camera, and you can see that I'm not an actress anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we have some chats over here. Okay, so all right, let's start with our question of the day: is life behind the camera? So Naomi, what all positions have you done behind the camera? Let's start from there.
So in film school, I've done like all the positions, because we were supposed to learn what the other people in the crew were doing. So I did like grip and sound, and but professionally, like after school, I worked. I started working as a camera trainee. So I did that on a TV show and a feature film. And after that, I started being paid, because I don't know how it works in the States, but I know in France, when you're a camera trainee, you're not paid. And so then I started to get paid, and I still work as a third AC. But again, I think that's something you don't have in the US. There's like camera trainee and then loader. And in France, the loader is the second AC. And there's someone who is the third AC and who is in charge of all the monitors and the batteries. So that's the job I do, and I've been doing that for 2 years. And I started while I was in school during the holidays, and I still do it now. So I'm trying to progress behind the camera and like be third AC and then a loader and then first AC, because that's how it works in France. Like you have to go through each job before you can like have the bigger job.
That be a DP, for example.
Yeah, but I do a lot of short films as a DP on the side, because it's really something that I don't want to lose. So sometimes I say no to paid jobs as an AC, because I want to do something that is not paid but is closer to my heart. And so I try to balance.
So Naomi, definitely talking about that. Should you run for your portfolio or should you run for the money? What are your opinions on that?
You mean when I choose to work on a project?
Yes. How do you choose to work on a project? Should you go for the money first, or should you think about like if I'm going to get my my portfolio is going to improve with a certain kind of job? Should you run for that if it's unpaid?
I would say neither. I'm more looking for a script I love, and a story I want to tell.
Okay.
And of course I think about money, because like I have to pay my rent, but the fact that I'm working as an AC on the side is giving me more freedom to choose the projects I want to work on, because I know that if there's a project and it's paid and I don't really like it, I'm not forced to do it, because I know that I will have money working as an AC. So I really choose wisely the projects I want to be a part on. And so I choose with the script, if it's a script I love, and also on the director, because sometimes the script is not very good or it doesn't bring images to me, but when I meet the person, we have a good feeling, and I see that the person has interesting things to say, so I want to go deeper in that. So it's more about the feeling than about the money or the images. But of course I like when there is a challenge and I can try new things like cameras or lenses. And I choose, sometimes I choose projects that have budget, but it's not because I want to be paid. It's because I know that we can have more equipment, and so I can do more things and I can learn more. Because sometimes it's rare that I don't usually accept projects that when people tell me, oh, do you have your own camera, or can we shoot with an iPhone? And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And sometimes it doesn't really matter if the story is interesting, because I just know that technically I'm like, I don't see what I can do with the equipment that we have. So yeah, I think it depends, but it's more on the script and the director.
I mean, you should keep a balance of you're building your own portfolio versus the money you're getting from doing such kind of jobs. You should keep a balance between both of them, definitely. Guys, I've posted 2 links in the chat box. Go check those out for sure. Follow Naomi on Instagram. Naomi, talking about your journey from being an actress to now your life behind the camera, and as you said, you are upgrading in terms of the roles you have behind the camera. Definitely, we were talking about the whole camera department, and as you said, loader is something that it still exists in a friend cinema. But we talked about all the positions all around the world that can be possible in a camera department. We were talking about that with Ahmed. Ahmed was also with us in New York Film Academy. He was hosting a session, I think, 2 days ago. You should have definitely joined that. But if not, so you can check it out on the Cinelogy YouTube page. The whole webinar will be over there for anyone who wants to see it again. So your life as an actress, what edge did it give you in terms of being a DP, visual storytelling, as you have been DP in some of the sets, as you said, in short films and all that. But how does acting give you an edge over the other DPs? How do you think that helps?
Yeah, I think it gave me a very a very sensitive approach. Can you say that?
Yeah.
So I'm really thinking in terms of the character and what the character is feeling. And I think that's because when I was reading script as an actress, it was always the first thing that I was trying to understand, like the evolution of the character and how to express that through acting. And so I think that now when I read a script, I also care about that, and I also think about the best way to express emotions. And I know that some people, when they read a script, they mostly think about the images or the ambience they want to give to the film.
Say, as a DP, DP is mostly concerned about how the image looks on screen. That's the final goal of the DP. It should look beautiful. It should have the the characters of the story itself, the traits of the story. But as an actress, as you've already told us, that it gives you an edge over the others. You can feel it. You want to continue on that?
Yeah, I just want to add that when I was in film school, the thing was your image always have to be pretty. So people have to see the image and say, wow, it's beautiful. And having a background as an actress gave me a slightly different approach, that I'm not always trying to have things look beautiful, but I'm trying to have things true to the story. Okay. And sometimes it's not true to the story to do a beautiful image of a situation that's not beautiful at all. Just to give an example, because sometimes it's the right thing to do and sometimes it just doesn't fit with the story. So yeah, I'm not trying to do the best image, the most beautiful image I can. I'm trying to do the image that is fair to the story and to the emotion. And I think that if people look at a movie and there's a very emotional scene, let's say, and they think, wow, the image is beautiful, that it just like it's that the image is not,
it doesn't relate to it doesn't relate to what the actor is trying to show over here.
Yeah, like the image shouldn't be the thing you notice.
Yeah, but do you think as a DP you can relate to it much better as an actress who turned into a DP now? You can relate to these emotions much better.
Maybe yes, maybe also to in the relationship with the actors. I think that the relationship between a DP and the actors is very important, especially when the DP is also the person who's operating the camera. And I love to operate, and I think that the relationship you build with the actors is like maybe not the most, but a very, very important thing. And in film school, we don't learn that. It's like the image and like the frame and the light are the most important things, but it's not true. The actors are the most important thing, and you have to build a relationship with them so that you can, like, their emotions can go through your frame, and you have to feel those emotions. So you have to, you really have to build a relationship of trust and sharing with the actors. And I think that because I have this past as an actress and I can relate more to the actors, and I know that that I shouldn't be in their way and I should leave space for them, and like not scream on set or things like that. So I think that because I was in their position, I know better what to do to make them feel good.
Well said, Naomi. We'll give you a short break over there. We'll ask Shri to join in. Shri, you have done a couple of short films where you yourself has directed and DP'd the film. What do you think? Is director DP a much stronger character by itself, or is actor turned into a DP much stronger in terms of expressing emotions on screen?
Wow, that's actually a smart question, I would say.
Yeah.
See, actors tend to probably get inside the character, right? So, but so is the case with directors as well. Directors are the ones who has, like, they have made the character, right? So I'm pretty sure they know the ifs and buts of the character, from end to end. So I have a feeling that combination would also augur well, but the problem is directors and DP, there's a lot of things on the table, on during production, there's too much to do. You have to look at the actors, you have to look at the lighting, you have to look at the composition, and you have to talk to the actors. And so I have a feeling it's a little tougher to be a director and a DP. So but yeah, as time progresses, as you get experience, probably you would get it easily. But as of now, I find it really difficult. But I'm pretty sure Naomi also probably had felt the same way initially, but
Yeah.
I'm far more experienced than us right now. So I'm sure she would have faced, probably bridged that gap pretty well, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your comments, Sri. We'll come to the next question. Thank you so much, Sri. But the next question that possesses is your relationship with the director. Naomi, carrying over the same point, you have been an actress, now a DP, but how is your relationship with the director? How do you communicate, and how do you, do you think of the whole script through the actor's perspective or through the director's perspective, or you just be your own self? You be a DP and you just tell what the director does. How's your take on this one?
I think it depends on the director. But I love when I really understand what a director wants. So I exactly know like what he wants with the frame and with the light. And I love when directors trust me. I feel so nervous when there's a director and I can see that he or she doesn't trust me. And it reminds me of when I was an actress and I was always so scared of directors. I worked 3 times with the same director, and she was a woman, and she was very scary because she would never say what she thought about what I did. So I was so nervous, and I was like, maybe because she's not saying what she thinks, it's because I messed up, or maybe she's happy and why doesn't she tell me? And so I was very nervous about that. And being a DP, I think I'm less scared of directors being a DP than when I was an actress, because most of the times, like, we prep a lot. So we talk about the image and we talk about what we like, and most of the directors I work with are my friends, and I know them for a long time, or I know we share common interests. And I always I like to know the story and make the director talk so that I can really understand their perspective. But yeah, it depends on directors, because I recently worked with a director who wanted to control everything, which I can perfectly understand, because I know that when in school I was doing something as a director, like I wouldn't, like, I was always saying to the person who was framing, no, don't do that like this, don't let the lamp go into the frame, and the person was looking at me like, why is she talking about a lamp? It's crazy. So I can perfectly understand that a director is not like comfortable with having other people do the things that he knows best how to do. And that director was always coming to me and saying, no, it's not what I want, maybe you can like frame a little differently, and I didn't understand what she wanted. And so it was very confusing. But most of the time I'm lucky that I work with people who entirely trust me. And so sometimes when I don't see things the way they do, we can talk about it, and it's not a dictatorship where I have to do always what they say. And sometimes we almost fight on the set, and the director
how do you deal with these how do you deal with these situations where you have lost all hope, you don't understand what the director wants you to do, and the director is not understanding you? So how do you come out of these situations? Do you just leave work, or do you do as the director says, you don't input your own creativity, or you just leave? What do you do?
I think I don't handle it very well, because and sometimes my assistants or my gaffer comes to me and say, it's okay, now you have to stop arguing, you have to accept. But I know that sometimes I feel like doing something is right for the story, and I have the feeling that the director is wrong, but no one is right or wrong because it's the director's story, so I shouldn't think that. But sometimes I don't agree with something that the director wants to do. So I say it to the director, and sometimes we talk about it, and I understand the reason why the director wanted to do it his way. So yeah, I say, okay, I understand, no problem. And sometimes the director agrees with me, so we do it my way.
Yeah.
So most of the times we can handle it this way because one of us agrees to the other one without too much argument. But sometimes the director doesn't agree, and we arguing, and there's always a point where I tell myself, okay, no more arguments, like you're not the director, so
Yeah.
it's not your movie, so
Yeah.
you have to do what the director says. So there's always a time where I accept, but sometimes it take longer than all the times. And I remember one time where my first AC came to me and said, wow, I think you pushed too much, because I thought I was right, and so I insisted. And then I went to the DP after the shoot. I went to the director, sorry, after the shoot, and I told her that I was sorry that I pushed this way, and she told me something that and she actually thanked me, and she says, it means a lot that you insisted, because it means that the story matters to you, and you want to tell the story correctly, so you fought for what you think was right, and that's why I love working with you. So I thought, wow, okay, so maybe that's a good thing. And I think, expressing how you feel about a decision, whether you agree or not, is always a good thing. But yeah, you have to know the boundary. And sometimes I think I have still a lot to learn about that, because sometimes I take things too personally, and I forget that it's not my movie and I'm at the service of the director.
Yeah, well said, Naomi. I mean, a lesson learned every day, that, if you go and tell the director that I care about the movie as much as you do, I mean, even that point will affect him or her in certainly bigger ways than imaginable, because, it can be written by someone else, but it's the director now who's working on this exact script, right? And inside the director's mind, it's usually the case where they want to lead the whole team, and they want them to be, like an orchestra. Play what I say, just play what I say, keep playing what I say. But if somebody comes up to the conductor of the orchestra and be like, I think there is a note which is going in a certain way, which is actually wrong. So the conductor of the orchestra will be like, yeah, I appreciate your thinking about that, because you care about this, right? It can be put on in a certain way. So thank you so much for those comments, Naomi. I would love to hear something from Vivian. Vivian, as a DOP, as a gaffer, do you think that, as Naomi said, that you should be concerned about the movie? You should talk to your director as honestly as you can. How do you see that, Vivian?
Yeah, I totally agree with whatever Naomi said. And the whole experience and whatever happened to you was really good. And I think that's the point. We have been discussing a lot on this channel, is that everything, like the relationship with the whole crew, is really important, because if you don't have a good relationship, no matter how the good, like you said, like, because you had a good relationship with the director, you could go and push, and then she understood that the reason behind you pushing was because you're involved with the story, and uh, because you had a good relationship with the director, like, it didn't end up bad. In fact, she understood. So I think it's definitely important, like, every relationship on the set, like, be the DP and the director, the gaffer and the DP, or everything is like so important, and in like internet, because like, even if the DP and the director have a good relation, but if the gaffer or like the AC and the DP don't have a good relation, that's going to affect the DP's mind, and that's in turn going to affect the direct. So it's like all a link, like, That's
Yeah.
why we need really good ADs and like good people who can control the set really nicely and like keep the whole the whole environment of the shoot and the set calm and composed and like
Exactly.
a fun set basically, because you're there to have fun. Like if it's a stressed set, you're not going to like to work there.
Yeah. Well said by Vivian, because you should keep your egos out
Yeah.
of the set. If you're working on a big set where you have, for say, up to 15 people, or let's say if it's a huge set, you have up to hundreds of people, like 200, 300 people all together. They are doing their part. Don't carry this ego that my decision will be above all. Just accept from each other, make a relationship with each other. Well said by Vivian over there. We'll come back to Naomi. Naomi, let's now switch gears to another topic. If it can show up on screen, just give me 1 second. Yes, there you go.
Oh.
French versus American cinema. Tell us something about French cinema. I mean, for our listeners who are listening to us right now, who are joining us in this session right now, or who might go up to YouTube and watch this video once it's posted over there, tell us something about French cinema that you feel is better than American cinema first.
I've never worked on a professional film set in the US, so maybe what I say isn't true, but I feel like there is a lot more hierarchy in films in the US, just because you have to pass some tests to have certain positions on the set, like being a camera operator, or if you work on a union job, I think, if I understood correctly, like you have to pass a lot of tests, so it's not that accessible. So maybe that's one of the main differences, because in France, most of the films are very small crews, and people don't always have a lot of experience. So that's a good thing, because it means that you can like go out of school and start working on, even if it's a big film or a small film, it doesn't change anything in terms of the crew. It's always a small crew. Like I've never seen a French set with more than, I don't know, maybe 30 people crew. That I remember when I was because I worked in PANAVISION in New York, and they made me visit a set, and it was the Blacklist set, and I entered the set, and there were so many people, and they had like 5 cameras working at the same time. And in France, when you have like 2 cameras, it's exceptional. So most of the time it's 1 camera, so the camera crew is very small, and I feel like everything in the US is bigger and more people, bigger equipment. So I've never seen a crane on a French film. I know that sometimes they have them, but in the US it's like all the time. So
we
it's
want
definitely
like a drone shot, we want a crane shot, we want a crazy one take. That are usually the cases in American cinema, definitely. Naomi, before you say the second point, I would we'll talk about your experience with PANAVISION in New York, definitely. That will be my next question. But before that, Sri, would you like to add in to our listeners listening right now, or in the YouTube video, that what a union is in terms of American cinema?
Well, yeah. So I think in Hollywood they have this thing called unions, where it's not predominantly present in other parts of the world, but yeah, even in India you have unions for lighting and things like that.
So majorly Hollywood and Bollywood, both being the biggest cinema producing or the movie producing industries, have unions as. Tell us something about union, Sri. What union is? Just describe it briefly.
Ideally, a union is, for example, for every key position, there is a union. For example, if you're on camera operator, you have a union for camera operators. You are probably a gaffer, there is a union for it. You are an electric, or probably you are a key group. So successively you have unions for these things. For you to get inside unions, you need to write an exam, get recommendations from fellow cinematographers, or probably people who are experienced in that area who endorse you. And once you get that, and that's how you get invited for Hollywood projects, bigger
Okay.
projects, right?
Mhm.
So you need to have certain amount of experience for you to first get inside the union. You can't
Mhm.
just go straight away from a film school.
Yeah.
So that's a point there. But yeah, the pay scales are really higher. We all know that. So once
Mhm.
you get inside union, it's kind of pretty. It's I would say it's a very settled life, you know.
Okay.
So away. Same is the case here. Uh, it's just that the economy of US is more. You
Okay.
get more bucks
Okay.
there. Right.
Thank you so much for that commentary. We'll get back to Naomi. Naomi, your second point about how French cinema is actually better than American cinema. How do you think? I think, if I'm not wrong, French cinema, the people working in French cinema, the crew inside French cinema might all be French, and they all speak the same language. That can be a case. In American cinema, if it's a huge set, if you just go to credits of any big movie, you'll see people from all around the world, majorly Italians, Native Americans themselves, people from LA, people from New York, West Coast, East Coast, people coming in from Canada. So a movie requires, a worldwide team to put it together. If a shoot is happening somewhere in Russia, so they'll hire a bunch of people from Russia, and they'll also fly out a bunch of people from United States to actually get that shoot done. But how do you think in French cinema? Because it's just my thought that all the crew who's working on a French cinema, even the actors, even the director, all speak the same language. They are French. They know the culture, they know the language. Does that make you faster than American cinema, or does that make your thoughts go in faster to some other person you are trying to explain to? How do you think that?
Yeah, it's true that on French movie sets everybody is French, or
Mm-hmm.
it's really an exception if someone isn't, and everybody
Okay.
is going to ask him what he's doing here. So yeah, it's not very open, and
Yeah.
it's very small. So like all the camera assistants in France know each other, and all the DPs know each other. So it's very small, even if it's like it's kind of developed. It's more developed than other countries. Like
Okay.
French cinema is working quite good, but yeah, there's not that much people, and also there's not that much movies
Yeah.
actually. Most of the movie that we see in theater in France are not French, and
Okay.
French cinema, I think that French cinema is not working very well right now. Well, I mean, even before the pandemic, because obviously it's not working at all for now.
Yeah.
But I feel that recent French movies are all the same, and they're comedies, and they have like the same actors, and they
Mm-hmm.
have like the same crew, and same directors, just because the productions are only giving money to like people who are already known, because they know that they can trust them and they're gonna bring money, and
Yeah.
they never take risks. And so that's why I wanted to study in the US and work in the US, because I feel that there's a lot more risks taken. Even if you also have like big budget union movies, you also have very small movies, and they can exist because people give money for those. And also the equipment is far less expensive in the US than in France. When I was
Oh.
working at PANAVISION, I discovered that, and it's like 3 times the price in France. So when you want to shoot a movie, you have you have
Can you
to
can you
have
say
so
that?
much
Can you say
money.
that it's exclusive because of it being sorry, it's expensive because it is exclusive. It might be a case where do you have rental houses, like huge big rental houses all over France, or are they very limited to a certain kind of city, or how's
Mm,
that? How's that? Tell us something about that.
well, the big rental houses like PANAVISION, or we have like two other ones, and they only do big movies. So if you're a short film, they're never gonna give equipment to you.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of small rental houses who are trying to like do nice prices to young people. So
Yeah.
that's essentially how I work, because you can have like a Sony Venice or an Alexa Mini for really not that expensive compared to the big rental houses. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm mainly working with those, and
Okay.
sometimes when I'm an AC, I mostly work with the bigger ones. And the thing I do is that I go to the bigger ones when I work on the project at an AC, and I tell them that I also work as smaller projects at a DP, and I would love to have equipment. And sometimes I meet nice people and they say, oh, if you need equipment, just call me, and they give me their number. But I feel like in France it's more closed than in the US.
Yeah.
So when you're a small project, you can't go to a big rental house. And when I worked in PANAVISION in New York, I know we're going to talk about that later, but
it's the next point, actually. It is the next point. But I have one more question about the French versus American cinema, definitely.
Yeah, they were helping a lot young people with their projects. So I think that was great, because in France they don't really do that.
Okay.
And I realized that I only say bad things about French cinema, but and you told me what's best, so I have to think.
Naomi, one more question about the French cinema. Is it majorly female dominant, or is it not?
No, it's not.
So how's the ratio like? How's the ratio like? Because in US, you might go up on set and it's completely a female set. There are cases like made short films and big films where all of the crew and the cast for some reason are all female.
Oh my God, that never happens in France.
So tell us about that. What is the ratio like? Is it majorly a male dominant industry, or is it, how much is the female integration over in France?
I think in the crew, it's like maybe one woman out of 10.
Okay.
But there are more and more female directors and more female producers, but cinematographers and gaffers and grips, and I've never seen a female gaffer, and I've never seen a female in the grip department. And I've seen a few female cinematographers, but women are mostly working in the camera department in the crew.
Okay.
They're camera assistants. But as a woman in France, it's very hard to be a DP. Like, it's not that hard to be an AC, but going from first AC to DP is a big step, and most of the times they don't succeed and they don't make it. So I had some bad experiences because I was a woman and everybody else in the crew was a man. And it almost discouraged me. But happily, I met a very nice camera crew, and they took me in because I was doing an internship as an electrician, and the gaffer said, I don't want girls. And so he wouldn't talk to me. And every time he wanted something, he would, like, it was like I was invisible. And I was feeling so bad. And so the first AC, asked him if he could take me in his team, because I really had, like, he wouldn't give me anything to do. So I was just waiting outside of the set, and I was so depressed. And so the camera team took me in, and they made me do the clapperboard, and I loved that. So I said, okay, maybe they're more welcoming in the camera team. So that's why I chose to work in the camera team, because I had a bad experience working in the electrical team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're not really welcoming female DPs. And every time I say to a man DP that I want to be a DP, and they always look at me with weird eyes, and they say, well, they say that I have to be an assistant for like 10 to 20 years if I want to be a DP. And I'm like, that's awful. I don't want to wait that long. And so that's why I'm trying to do jobs at the DP and never let go of that. Because so many people I know let go, and because it took too long to do what they wanted to do. So, but I know that it's a lot worse in other countries. I think in America it's better, but I was talking to a Chinese female cinematographer, and it was way worse, and like nobody would give her any job. That in France it's starting to shift, it's starting to open, but it's still very complicated.
Thank you for that. I hope it gets better over time and pretty soon. We'll also take a comment from either Vivian or Shri about the situation in India. How is female? Is it female dominant or is it not? From my experience, it is not a female dominant industry, and same is the case over here. I've not seen any female gaffers or female working even in the camera department. I've not seen that, but all you find in terms of a female crew might be they're working in costume designing or production designing departments. Mehak did unmute her microphone in between. Mehak, do you want to say something? Mehak, can you hear us? Mehak, do you want to say something? If not, you can type it down in the chat box, and we will be responding to that. Shubham has commented for you, Naomi. Nice work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Shubham, for typing that down. If there are any questions for okay, Mike said she unmuted by mistake. Okay, no worries. If you have any question, you can type it down in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and talk about it. Vivian or Sri, tell us, what do you think? From what I've seen, there are not, it's basically just a male-dominant industry in terms of crew. Vivian, your comments on this, please.
I think all over the world, it's true that like it's a heavily like male-dominant industry, like be it US, France, India, anywhere. Like, but before that, I just wanted to ask a question. The point you made about like the French industry being a little like closed, and like it's just mostly like French people and like not people from outside. So do you think, does that how do I put it? Do you think does that restrict the creativity? And like, I mean, even though like French, like there are a lot of good French movies. The recent one I watched was Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which was pretty good. But like, do you think if you all like open up a little more, because there's like just so much good potential, but like would opening up more and like inviting more people,
he's basically asking if he can Vivian is basically asking if he can job in France.
Oh yeah. No, but also like, do you think, is that a good thing, or the industry being closed is a better move, because then like it's not being infiltrated by other people, and like like it's being more authentic and more true to French.
Exactly, Vivian. Like Korean cinema, it's just Korean people working on set. French cinema, French people working on set. I've seen Dutch films, Dutch people working on set. it's not very inclusive of all cultures. But I've seen only American movies where they actually show different cultures. You know, they get different characters on set. They happen to shoot a scene in India, they can shoot a scene in France, they can shoot a scene anywhere in the world. Yeah, basically, Vivian is. Naomi, would you answer Vivian about that?
Well, I think a country's cinema is always reflecting what's happening in the country.
Yes.
So probably it's more like, maybe it's more inclusive in the US because the population is a lot of cultures and from a lot of countries, than in France, even if you don't have a very inclusive president. but the Americans are very different, and in France it's mostly French people and French culture, and I think that French cinema, of course, it would be richer if it opened more to different kind of stories. And the same goes for women. Like you said, Lady on Fire was directed by a woman, and the cinematographer was a woman, and like it was about a love story between two women. So that's something very new. So those kinds of movies exist in France, but they're hard to make because nobody wants to give money for them. But some people manage to make those movies, and it's really important, I think. And in the end, it's always those movies who have a great life in the international, also because they're French, but they're different from the other French movies, and they bring something new. So yeah, I think French cinema would definitely be better if it opened more and welcomed more people. And also like I think it should welcome more people from the beginning, like from the selection of the scripts to the end, like how you select a movie that's going to go in theater, and even in production, like every step of the way you should open more, because I've read great scripts, and when people try to finance the movies with their script, everybody says no, and says that like it's too new, or it's gonna shock people, and so it's not a good thing. And I think that's a good thing, and those films should exist, and they should have their chance. And but I think that it's getting better because more and more young people have great stories to tell. So maybe that like we're gonna get bigger and tell the stories we want to tell, but it's gonna take time. And I don't really know why French cinema is stuck in a dead end. It's because a lot of things, but exclusion of everything that's not usual is a great obstacle.
Yeah, thank you so much for that comment, Naomi. We'll be taking one comment from Shri. Shri, if you can unmute your mic. Vivian has also unmuted his mic. Vivian, you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to ask about the experience. Remember when you were in New York, you had come on set for one day with me, and remember we were talking about how like everything, like the lights and all like stuff, like there's a different name what we use, and you had a different name, and also like the set we were on, like there were people from all around the world, like like from South America, India, like China, everywhere. Do you like, this is what I always feel, I just want to check with all of you all, like do you think like if all of these, like the names of the equipments, if they were just like made universal, like wouldn't it be just easier for, do you think that like is it possible, or like how is like how different did you find it? Like was it too confusing for you, or like you still got it, like what we are talking about?
Vivian, I'll say it's like kilometers and miles for me. Because we use kilometers in India, and we go to US and everything is in miles. The drinks are all in ounces. You get everything in gallons. You get your milk in gallons. So you end up converting everything in your own head. I think, Naomi, would
Uh,
you like to add in?
but like, my question was,
Yeah.
sorry, like I should make it short. My question was like, did you find it really difficult, or like was it easy? Like, I know it was just one day that you were on set, but do you think it would have been easier for you to like catch on to the new names?
I think it's necessary to catch up because yeah, I know what the projectors are, at least some of them, but I don't know their names. But I don't think it's a bad thing because you can like ask the other person, and like just as I did with you and Navneet, every time I didn't know something and you guys told me what it was, and so I learned pretty quick. And at PANAVISION it was the same thing. So when I arrived I was so lost because everything had a different name, but like 5 days later I knew what the names were. And
Yeah.
when I came back to France I didn't know what the French was. And so I would talk to people in English and people would look at me like she's so weird. And
Yeah.
I remember that I was saying nogo arm because you guys have nogo arms, and in France we say bras magique, so it's like magic arm. And
Magic
I
arm.
was in the French rental house and I was saying nogo arm and they didn't know what it was. But it again, like 2 days later I found like the equivalence. And
Yeah.
so I think it's funny because yeah, it's different. And it's like when you go to a new country and you learn a new language, and it's exotic. And I love to learn about all the different things that exist in different countries. And I think that maybe it would be more easy for people around the world if all the equipment had the same name in every country. But it's the same as thinking maybe people were saying that if everybody on earth was speaking English it would be easier for like exchange. But I think we would be losing each country's specificity.
Yeah.
And it's also funny that things don't have the same name, and sometimes you name the thing, and when you like I love to do that with French because French is a lot like that. You have a word, and if you search the root of the word it tells you about its history. And so I don't know, maybe it's the same with equipment, and you discover things about the equipment based on the name. So I don't know. I don't think it's a big obstacle. You just have to find someone in the crew who is nice and who agrees to tell you. Because obviously, if you work with someone who doesn't have time or is annoyed when you ask questions, it's gonna be an obstacle for you. But when I worked with you, you were so nice to me, and I would have loved to stay more. And I thought that everybody was so welcoming. And again, this is a difference with France, and I feel that in the US everybody is so welcoming and super nice. And sometimes in France I feel a bit lonely.
So I have a question on that. Like, so just hypothetically, like if I come to France and I work in the French industry, is it necessary like to know French, or you could get around just by knowing English?
Most of the French people speak English or a little of English, so I think language wouldn't be a problem. And naming the equipment either. The thing is that in France it's hard to get in the crew. It's hard to meet people that are gonna hire you when you don't know anyone. So that's why film school was great for me, because I met people. And I think that it's easier in the US to meet people. For example, when I came to your school, like maybe I talked to you for maybe 30 minutes, but it was very short. And here we are 2 years later talking about cinema. And
Exactly.
in France it's a little harder to like build a network, because it's a little harder to meet people and people are not very open, but not everyone. So you can meet someone very open, and I think that if you came in France and like knowing one person, I mean, you know me, and if I hear that like someone's looking for a gaffer and I can give your name, and it can go very fast. So it really depends. But I think that in generally people are more closed, but it doesn't mean that you can't make it if you just have to push a little more. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivian. And well said, Naomi. We'll take a comment from Shri. Shri, your take firstly on filmmaking and cinematography being a male-dominant industry, and not in US. And secondly, do talk us about, how, as we have already discussed, names, different names in different countries is the beauty of the styles and different cultures of filmmaking. What are your thoughts about it?
Oh yeah, so yeah, women cinematographers. Of course, we see so many names popping up in US today, and they're amazing. They're doing great work. Uh, Actually, you'll be pretty surprised. There are quite a lot of female cinematographers from down south of India.
Okay.
They're all popping up as well. But I kind of see the change happening. There were a couple of movies done by them. Recently, also, there was one movie which was produced by Maniratnam, had a female
Okay.
cinematographer.
Mm-hmm.
So things have started changing back in India as well.
Okay.
So I see this generation shift happened already. So it's going to be booming anytime soon, right?
Okay.
So I'm not really sure of France or German
Shri, I
cinema,
would
but
say,
yeah,
Shri, I would love to add. I was watching
yeah,
a couple of Netflix-produced Indian series and
yeah.
Indian movies, and
Mm-hmm.
you come up with many female names now, especially in, I'll say, streaming platforms. When you
Yeah.
go through the credits, when you actually don't skip the credits
Mm-hmm.
to watch the next episode, I
Yeah.
end up watching the credits sometimes.
Okay.
So, I saw many female names, which were part of the crew, which were part of, they're mostly a part of the production designing and the art department,
Mm-hmm.
um, because reasons. But um, being a part of the technical crew also, I've seen many female names popping up. Definitely, Shri.
Yeah. The shift has already happened now. I mean, especially down south, I could say.
Yeah.
Maybe in Bollywood also it has started. Probably we are not still aware. Okay, so
Okay.
but I'm not really sure of how France and German reacts. But I think we heard it from Naomi. It's a little closed as of now. Maybe fingers crossed. It should. We need diversity, right? And any industry needs diversity, right? So hopefully we have a good mix of people. And as Vivian said, Portrait, Lady of Fire, the recent movie was done by a female cinematographer and a female director. So I think the change has already started, right? So
Yes.
that is one point. With respect to naming of equipments, I think it all boils down to one single thing: language, right?
Yes.
English. Okay. The reason why US has a big market is because Hollywood movies are watched worldwide. As simple as that. And that is the reason people go there. Korean people come there. We go there. Chinese people
Mm-hmm.
come there. And again, English, the language. So it is pretty accessible, and people, as Naomi said, if the entire world probably started speaking one language, then it's gonna be easy. Anyone can make a
Mm-hmm.
movie, and it's gonna be watched worldwide. But again,
Yeah.
you would lose the culture, you would lose your own individuality and vibe and things like that.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
but that's the point, right? Today market drives business, right? And that's the reason you have so much of diversity in US. Okay, so even for a Marvel movie, let's take an example. There's so much of Chinese characters, so much of uh, that's the need of the hour for them, because they know that the movies have been watched worldwide, not just in US,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it boils down to language and market. Okay, so
Yes.
and you mentioned a good point. US has this tendency to name things differently. Probably they do it for the pride. I don't know. Even
I don't know.
temperature and Celsius and
Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
I mean, same thing with us, Sri. We have been speaking temperatures. We have been
Right.
we have been speaking temperatures in Celsius. We have been
Right.
using kilometers for our whole life. We have been
Right.
speaking everything, measuring
Right.
everything in liters, meters.
Yeah.
But once you step into US, they're still in the past in some
Yeah.
ways. They're still
Yeah.
using imperial systems.
Yeah.
But you start to get a sense of it. They don't want to
Correct.
lose it. It's gonna cost them a lot of money to actually shift from imperial to US. Their stuff. But
Uh-huh.
talking about just the film industry, it might also be a case where they don't want to lose these names, and they're making up new names every day. As we have heard Apple boxes and boxes and crates. Crates might be a word that was used a while back. There might be other words that are popping up.
But you know what? There is actually a lot of similarity with respect to terminologies in India as well. Of course, there's quite a lot which we do not speak the same way here, but almost 60 to 70% it's the same. Again, that's the reason is language, right? And one more thing, probably I want to ask Naomi. Naomi, I think the French New Wave cinema was probably a game changer in world cinema. With respect to Francois Truffaut, 400 Blows, and brilliant movies, Jules and Jim. These were the movies which completely changed the way in which movies have been looked all over the world. So that all came from France. But what really happened in, after 80s to 2000s, what really happened? Why didn't we see great movies from France? Of course, we had quite a lot in between, but we didn't see a director like Francois Truffaut emerging out of France. Why?
Well, it's a tricky question because I'm not a specialist of French cinema history, but I think that they started making movies for money and not for
art.
And when they were doing those new wave films in the 60s, they were absolutely not thinking about how many money that would make. They just wanted to find a new way of expressing themselves and find the specificity of cinema. And they wanted to try a lot of things, and that's how they started to hold the camera in their hands and run in the streets, and nobody was doing that before that. But I think some movies are still made this way, but most of the movies are made because they know that it's going to make money and the country needs money, and so we're only going to choose to produce the films that make money. And a lot of movies who are a bit different from this very commercial thing, like Portrait of a Lady in Fire. I'm not sure, but I think that the director is also the producer, and so they managed to find way to have money without going through the usual system that says it's not going to make enough money, so go away. But it's really not the majority of the films. But yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I think that more people should ask themselves that question.
Yeah, I mean, any film school, if you go, the first thing they ask us to watch is from French New Wave, right? I mean, even you remember Nav and Vivian, the Visions of Light documentary.
The Visions of Light. Yes.
The first thing had Jules and Jim, that running, image where she runs on the bridge with handheld, right? So yeah. I mean, see, you guys had done some blinding work. I mean, so. We learned everything from you guys. So honestly, not but having
the French Revolution.
Yeah, but having said that, having said that, we also, I mean, every country had pioneers, right? We had Satyajit Ray, and we had, Japan had their own pioneers. So, but yeah, French New Wave taught a lot to world cinema. That I could definitely say. Yeah.
Yes. Very interesting topics by Shri over there, getting into the details of French cinema. We'll come back to Naomi. Naomi, the topic is on your screen. Tell us your story.
Oh, yeah. It's been there for a while.
Yeah, it's been there. Tell us your story. How did you get in? What was your role in PANAVISION, and what did you learn out of it?
So this happened a few months after I graduated from my school.
Okay.
And I was trying to find work abroad because I wanted to learn new things and meet new people. And also I wanted to get better in English. So I figured that going to an English speaking country was a great start. But I didn't know anyone. So it was hard to find places where I could apply. And I met a cinematographer on Instagram, and he very nicely offered to write me an introduction email to PANAVISION New York because he knew people there. And so that's how I first got in touch with PANAVISION. And then I went to Camérimage Festival in Poland. And there I met at the PANAVISION stand. I met the PANAVISION's New York vice president, and so I said, "Hi, do you remember that we exchanged a few emails about my internship?" And she was so nice, and she helped me get the visa and everything. So it was very long to organize, but when I got here, I was so happy. So I was there last year in February and March, so that I think that in the US the internship status is a bit weird. So when I arrived in PANAVISION, they didn't really know what an intern was and what I was supposed to do. So they decided to put me in a different department every week so I could see what they were doing and help them. And from the first day I started, and I was in shipping and receiving, so I was supposed to scan everything. And the great thing is that when you scan something that you don't know what it is, the name is written. So I was learning a lot of the equipment this way, scanning things. And then I went to servicing, so I would clean and calibrate monitors. So that was interesting as well. And then they moved me to the prep tech floor. So this is where the crew come and they test the equipment. And so I was assisting a prep tech. And then the funny thing is that it was a very busy period, and they didn't have enough prep techs to help all the assistants. So they decided that I was going to be a prep tech for a month. And they said, okay, so you're going to prep this job, this job, this job. And I was so scared at the beginning, but I ended up learning so much. And again, I thought that people were so nice and welcoming, and they put me at PANAVISION. They decided to put me on the test. So I would assist the DPs when they came to test lenses. So I wasn't with the camera assistant. They put me with the DPs because I told them I wanted to be a DP, but I didn't think they were gonna do this gift to me. And so it was very nice because I was just like, I put a camera and some lenses, and then I was there and I could listen to everything what the DPs had to say about the lenses. And sometimes they would test the lens on me, so they would sit me on a chair and then do that. Or sometimes I remember that there was a female DP, Carmen Cabana, and she was very nice, and she always asked me what I thought about the lenses, and I was so shy. But yeah, everybody was very nice, and I learned a lot. And I think that working in a rental house is a very good way to meet the crews and also know the equipment better. And maybe it's easier than being on set because everybody is not in a rush, so they have time to explain things to you. And that
Exactly.
was,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You get time to interact with the crew who's coming in for like a checkout or to check in or just to like spend some time in the rental house. Thank you so much for that experience, Naomi. We'll now take some questions from our listeners right now. If you want to say something, you can unmute your mic, ask Naomi, share your experience, what you have learned, or you can type it in the chat box. Naomi, before we start getting questions in the chat box, do you think that getting experience in New York in Panavision, gave you, it definitely gave you a very good edge on being a DP, coming back to France and then being a DP. But do you still think that you are ready to actually step into the big games if you go back to the US? Do you think that you now, after so much understanding of how the camera works, because I believe all you might have worked in Panavision was entirely film related, it was not digital. So do you think you can go on sets like those too?
No, it was digital.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What I did at Panavision, but in my school, I learned to shoot on film, but it was a very short session, so I wouldn't feel confident right now to shoot something on film.
Yeah, even with us,
like
I mean, Vivian and Sri
yeah.
will agree that we did at least 1.5 months on film. We were on film. We shot on black and white reversal 16. Then we went to color 16 reversal. After that, we switched over to. After a very, very long time, we went to. We had a Panavision class with Ray shooting on 35 mm. Film, but it was a very brief session, and still we would be hesitant to actually work on film, because working on film, you are bounded by some aspects. You're bounded by the length of the film. You're bounded by you know some creativity that you can do. As I think Zavi was with us in a session day before yesterday. Even before that, he was talking about how he himself gives some time for the actors to set down after the slate happens. So he gives like a minute to the actors, for them to settle down, get into their mood, and he just looks into their eyes as he believes, it might be his own trick, but he thinks that he can actually see in the actor's eyes when they are ready, and then he calls for the action. But you cannot do that in film. You cannot waste 1 minute of film rolling inside the camera, right? You cannot do that. So
it depends on how much money you have.
exactly. How much money is the producer willing to give you out? And if you can waste 1 minute of film. We have a comment from Raju saying, coming from France, was it difficult to adapt the conditions, language in US? Do your comments on this, Naomi?
Well, I already had like a pretty good knowledge of English. Like I could understand regular situations, so I wasn't starting from nothing. So it wasn't that hard to adapt in Panavision. At the beginning, I was scared because I was scared that all the equipment had a different name, and so I wouldn't know it. But as I said earlier, I learned pretty fast. First, a lot of equipment has the same name, and the equipment that has a different name was easy to learn. So that wasn't that challenging. And then it was my first experience working in a rental house, so I didn't really have a way to compare. So it was very new. And they were really nice to me because they knew everything was new for me. So they would always say, is it okay? Do you understand everything? Do you need something? So I think that being an intern is cooler than arriving and working and be considered as a PANAVISION employee from the first day. I was like their child, so it was a fun position to be in. And then I have my cousin who lives upstate New York, so I was living at her place, so I wasn't on my own. So not everything was new because I knew her. And she has a son and we played together, so it was like a family away from home. So that helped me a lot as well. So no, it wasn't hard, and I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to coming back.
All right. We have one more question from Gaurav saying, is it important to get into a film school to work in industry, or is it more beneficial to learn under people who are already working in the industry? I think we have talked about this, but Naomi, once again, give us a brief on this about according to you.
Well, again, it depends on the experience that you have. But I would say it's more beneficial to learn under people who are working in the industry, because you have like a guaranteed job. And when you go out of film school, I know that in my case, I thought that when I get out of film school, I would find a job immediately, but it's not true. It's like starting again, and you have like, I was okay, I met people in film school. No, I'm good, I'm gonna find work. But no, you still have to meet people and still have to meet camera assistants and DPs to find work. So I think that if you know someone who can give you work and you are sure that that person can really help you and not like give you a job and then never call you back, maybe it's better to go with that person and learn on the job, because it's also a very good way of learning. But if you don't know anyone who can help you get into the industry, or you scared to apply, because I knew that before film school, I thought that I didn't have enough experience to apply. So yeah, if you're in this situation, maybe it's more beneficial to go to film school first and then try to contact people. But again, it depends like on how much money you have. If you can't pay for film school, like you should work directly. And because like I know that in the US it's a bit different, but as a French person who had a completely free education, I like can't understand how people or students can take so many and then not be nervous, because you like after school, if you have like $20,000 that you have to pay back, it must be so scary to start working, because like you always think that if I don't earn money, I won't be able to pay back. And I'm so lucky that I'm not in that situation. So yeah, it depends.
Definitely, it depends. The first point will be it depends.
Sorry, it's not a very good answer to say it depends all the time.
It is actually, because it depends on the person themselves. If you have the money and if you seriously want to learn, just go to a film school. Okay. If you don't have the money, or you think that going to a film school, if it comes from within that, if I go to film school, I won't learn much. It's better I actually go out to a professional and work under him or her. I believe that will make you learn. Just go do that. And it might be a case where you actually end up learning much more, staying with that professional all day long. As Naomi said, in France, her education was completely free to go to a film school in France and learn. So that was, that was an edge over, any other person who was considering. Yeah. Back to you, Naomi.
And I just wanted to say that for someone who doesn't know if it's better to go to film school or to start working on set directly. Like for someone who has money but not much, and so is asking a lot of questions, maybe the best thing to do is like try finding work on set, and then if it doesn't work, maybe go to film school, or never close a door, and maybe you can start working on set and then go to school with the money you earned, or I don't know, but maybe you can try both and see what's working. And I know that I really do things like that instinctively. So sometimes I try both things, and I say, if one doesn't work, the other is still here. Because I can understand that it's not easy. It's not an easy matter whether you should go to school or start working directly.
Yes. Going to a good school requires a lot of money. Definitely. What you can do is, my suggestion will be to actually learn as much as you can first. Go online, look for classes, learn from different mentors, their perspective. If you're into editing, start editing. Just start editing. Get your laptop out, install some softwares, and just go edit. If you happen to have a camera, go shoot outside, go shoot for like at least a year. Keep the camera with you for your first year that you buy it. Shoot as much as you can, and watch a lot of movies. Get inspired. Watch a lot of movies. Get into the habit of being a cinematographer, talking like a cinematographer or a filmmaker. Get into that habit. And if by then you end up getting a job, on set or somewhere else, you will be ready with some kind of information inside your head. You cannot be like, I don't know anything about filmmaking, or I don't know any words that are supposed to be used on set, and you go up to a film set. That shouldn't be done. You should inform yourself. You should be learned. You should learn by yourself. You should start learning from, like, you can sit in house and learn. We'll take some more questions before we end today's session. And we'll wait for some more questions to come up if somebody wants to speak in between. Yeah, Vivian has unmuted his mic. Vivian.
Yeah, I have like a two-part question. So you said in PANAVISION you started assisting DPs for doing camera tests. So the first part of the question is, like, I'm not sure how many DPs you assisted during the test, but like, did everyone have a similar pattern or a similar way to do their camera tests, or like everyone had their own unique way to do tests? And the second part is like, you also assist in France, like, so is there any similarity you saw between like the American DPs and the French DPs while doing tests, like not working, like just by doing tests, like,
preparing to
like,
shoot,
did they did you hear anything, or did you ask them anything about like the decisions they made about specific lenses or like cameras and stuff like that?
Naomi.
So yeah, in PANAVISION, I assisted 4 DPs when they were doing tests. So sometimes it was like 1 day test, and they would come back for several days. One time the director was here, so it was fun to see a director who was interested in lens tests. And every time they were tested, so different lenses company, like Dice lenses and Cook lenses versus PANAVISION lenses, for example. And they would also test a lot of detuned lenses, because in PANAVISION they can modify the lenses. Like a DP says, oh, I want like a soft edge lens, a bit warmer or something like that, and then in PANAVISION they built it and they modify it, and that's something that it's never done in France, so that is so fun. And so they would test that, and they were all very different. They had very different approach. So the first one, I don't remember his name. He was a very mean old man. He would always yell at everybody and always changing positions. of the seat and the actress and the light, and he was never happy with the results, so he always wanted to see more lenses. So that was a scary first experience. And then the second one was Mark Schwalbard, and he was working on a movie called The Photograph, directed by Stella Meghi. I'm not sure if it's out yet. And it was a movie with a black actress. So he was testing what lenses were the best for black skin. So it was very interesting. And he also tested some LUTs that his colorist had done for him. And that was very interesting for me because I had never seen such tests, like LUT tests. I barely knew what a LUT was. So that was very interesting. And his test, the director came for this test. So she was sitting behind the monitor and she was saying with her words what she thought of the image that she was seeing. So it was interesting to hear her point of view because she wasn't talking with technical terms. She was talking in terms of sensitivity and how she felt about the lens. And I remember that he put a lot of cloth, like with very bright colors in the frame to see how the LUT was rendering those colors. So that was really interesting. And the third, no, it was the fourth. I don't remember who the third was. But the last one was Carmen Cabana. And she was very funny because she put a lot of music and she was dancing and doing the test at the same time. It was crazy. Like in France, you would never see that. So she tested some lenses and she wanted the lens to be as soft as possible. And she was working on a Hulu show called High Fidelity. It's with Zoe Kravitz, I think. And so yeah, she was testing also for not white skin, like brown skin. And she was testing lenses and she chose detuned lenses that were the most soft. And she wanted like the highlight to be very soft when they go out. Sorry, I don't really know how to explain. And she tests a lot of filters as well, like strike filters. And I didn't know about that. So again, it was a great discovery. And I remember that I made her discover satin filters because she didn't know about that. And in PANAVISION, like my last week, they said to me that I could take a camera and lenses and filters, like how many filters I want, and test them. So I went into a room and I put all the lenses in front of the camera. And so I discovered that I loved satin filters, who also have a softening effect, but they don't how to say it, like it stays in focus. So it's soft, but it stays in focus. And I saw that, and then I put the filter back. And when Carmen was here, she said that she was looking for this type of filter. So I said, oh, I know that satin filter, and I brought it to her, and I was so proud. And she loved them. So and it was very interesting because she wasn't talking to me like I was nothing. So she would really talk to me like I could also be interesting, even if she was so much more interesting than me. But she was very nice. And I think that the main difference when you do tests, what I noticed from France, is that in France, it's very, like, DPs are never going to say to an AC or to a prep tech what they think about the lens, or they're never going to ask for their advice, because like you just don't do that because they're not experienced enough. And so yeah, I think it's more closed. And it depends if you know the DP or not, because right now I'm working with a DP and I'm the third AC, and I know him from before, so he's very nice to me and he explains things to me. So again, it depends on who you're working with, but generally people are more open to suggestions and opinions, even if you have a lower position on the set.
Yeah.
But I think like probably some American DPs don't want suggestions from their team.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really depends. But there's a very nice relationship between the camera crew and the rental house.
Yeah.
At least the PANAVISION in New York, like they really work together. And at France, it's more, I'm going to tell you what I want and you're going to give it to me, but we're not going to share that much.
Okay.
Okay. Naomi, we have a question for you in the chat box. You would love to read that?
Naomi, what are you thought? Is that this one? On learning
yes.
through online portals for EG masterclass. We have quite a few filmmaking lessons over there. I would like to hear the answers from other experts over here as well. That's a good thing, because I don't know if I can answer to that, because I'm not really good on the computer. So I usually, like, I never read scripts on the computer and I can't read on the computer. But I love masterclasses and I love podcasts, and I listen to them a lot. Most of them are in English, so that's good too, because it helps me keep up with the language. But I think it's, I don't know, there's a lot of material out there for the people who know where to find it. Like I don't know where to find it, but I know that there's a lot of great things, and it's a great way of learning.
Yeah. Definitely. The masterclass in US is currently free for 3 months. So if you log in through any other country, I guess it won't show you the free session or the free 3-month trial period. But if you want the 3-month trial period, just go on masterclass through a VPN. Just install a VPN on your device. So the masterclass will be free for the next 3 months, I guess. Also, lynda.com is offering free courses for the next 2 months, and there's one more, if I don't remember, but certain online classes, online portals where you can actually go and learn photography, filmmaking, cinematography are currently free. Definitely go check them out. And also, comments from this on Vivian. Vivian, do you think online learning actually helps? Because in my thoughts, I'll suggest, if you just want to learn first and you end up getting a job or a position on a set, you'll get the balance of both the theory and the practical of filmmaking. Vivian, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely all these online classes, masterclass, Lynda and everything are definitely helpful. It'll give you a good insight for whatever you want to learn. But eventually this whole industry is a practical industry. Like, you have to go hands-on and learn things. Like, unless you don't shoot by yourself, I mean, no matter how much you see online, like, I mean, even if the best class is online, unless you don't take the camera and go out by yourself, like, you're never going to like experience or understand what they're trying to say. So it is definitely helpful, but yeah, eventually you have to get out.
It gives you an introduction of what you're into. Shri, comment on this, please.
Yeah, I think Vivian has probably hit the nail on the head. See, screenwriting can be learned online. Okay. Couple of courses like this can be really learned online, wherein there is no much of hands-on activity which is needs to be done. But with respect to cinematography, you need to have hands-on experience. Of course, you can learn theories, but what will happen is, see, we have experienced it. Even a smaller light you see on an internet, and then you probably tend to do it with yourself and try to probably shape it and then put it, probably face it towards the actor or actress, it's going to look different, and you will think that this is what they did, but why is it not happening to us? So you make the mistakes.
Exactly, Sri.
Yeah, so you make the mistakes, you do it, you see what needs to be done, what should not be done. So trial and error is the best way to go. So cinematography, you need to be hands-on.
Great said by Sri.
Even if you don't have lights or anything, like even if you have your own phone, like just the natural sunlight coming from outside, and if you just put a curtain or if you do diffusion, that itself changes so much. Like you'll see it only if you do it by yourself. Like you'll see the difference in the on an online class, but I think you'll see it much better when you do it by yourself.
Probably one more point. See, classes teach you how to light, but how to cut light is an art by its own. Okay, it's more like lighting is one, but how you cut light is also pretty important. So these are the things which you have to probably do it by yourself to understand, or probably you watch from someone on set.
Definitely, definitely, Sri.
Also, I think the best class would be just all the movies. Just watch as many movies as possible, and that would teach you the most, I think.
Thank you for your comments, Vivian and Sri. We'll just stick for 5 more minutes to get the questions which are coming our way. Naomi, any other comments from you?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about what I recently discovered. It's on Instagram. The cinematographer of the Joker has created a website. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Shot Deck, and it's a kind of bank.
Can you spell it out? Can you spell it?
Shot. I had to spell it in English. It's shot like a shot, and deck like a deck.
A shot deck.
Yeah, and it's a bank of images, and there's a lot of images from a lot of movies, and they're classified with keywords like the location or the lens or the period or the color. And if you're prepping a movie, I think that's an incredible tool. Or just if you're looking for like inspiration, or if you want to think about lighting, and you can like type a word. Like I recently I did a short film in an hospital, and I typed hospital, and I had a lot of images of inspirations that I used to show the director, and we talked about the look of the movie. And I think that's a great tool. And recently they did I don't remember, Lawrence Scher, I think is the name of the GP, and he said to everyone on Instagram that they could that's the website.
This one? Okay.
And so you can like register to have a beta account, because this is just starting, and then you can search for any movie that you want, and it's amazing, I think. And recently he said to his followers that they can choose an image from this site and try to replicate it at home, like with the lights that they have. And people did amazing things, and they're all in the Shot Deck Instagram account. And it's okay. I think it's I didn't have time to do it, but I think it's a great idea to take a still from a movie that like you like, or you think it's great, and then try to replicate it with what you have. And I think it can be a great way of learning too. And in the stories, if you click on the stories, and then maybe not, yeah, it's like the image of the movie and the replication that someone did, and some of them are really good.
Definitely, they are a good replication of the original. See, there you go. They also worked on some particles at the back. Look at that.
Yeah, pretty good.
Look at this shot. Look at this shot.
Yeah.
You cannot have the same chair, but at least he tried.
Oh, thanks a lot, Naomi. That's gold mine.
This is incredible.
Yeah, it's a great website.
Mm-hmm. Great. Any Naomi, before we leave, this is actually a great resource. Go follow this page on Instagram if you want to learn something new every day. If you want to see how people are actually replicating their shots. So yeah, Naomi is already following this now. So definitely go and follow this on Instagram. Naomi, what will be your suggestion, your movie or your TV series suggestion for today, which is easily accessible to everyone who's watching right now? Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that.
There's a TV show that's on Netflix, but I hope it's in Netflix US. I'm not sure, but it's in Netflix France, and it's called Into the Night.
I saw it. We were talking about it last night. We were actually my recommendation last night was Into the Night.
Okay. So should I find something?
So yeah. You should say something else. It is very interesting. I love those concepts. Yeah, Into the Night is a great show.
And the DP of Into the Night is the DP that I'm gonna work with at the third AC, like in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
And I met him while I was in school, and he's very nice.
Definitely post some shots of the set if you can, please, on Instagram.
Yeah, I try.
We will love to watch that. Your recommendation, please.
You should have asked me that before, so I can think about it.
Just the outer name.
There's a movie maybe it's not valid because I don't know if it's accessible. It's a movie that I haven't seen, but I want to see it, and it's only available in the US, so I'm very frustrated. It's called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, and it's an indie film directed by Elisa Hitman, and the DP is female, and she's French. Working in New York, and it's about 2 young girls, and one of them wants to have an abortion, and she can't because she's living in Pennsylvania, I think, and it's forbidden there. And so her cousin and her are leaving to go to New York because in New York they can do it. And so it's the story of those 2 girls, and I've watched some interviews of the director and the DP.
Can you name it?
It's Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
Oh, rarely?
Rarely, sometimes, always. And they shot that in 16 millimeter with the camera very close to the actresses, very close to their reality, and it looks great. I really want to see it. And so if you can see it for me, you can.
Definitely go check this title out. Let's see what other technical specifications. Yeah, definitely it was shot on Reflex 416 Zeiss ultra prime lenses, negative format,
I love
16 millimeter.
I love when the camera is very discreet. So it's really saying something, like the aesthetic is saying something, but it's not too visible. So it doesn't it's not more important than the characters. Like people are still going to focus on the characters, but just looking at the trailer and some images, I can see that I love the image, and I love what this DP does. So I really look forward to seeing it.
Naomi, just one question. Do you have a favorite combination? I mean, you've been shooting a lot. Any favorite combinations, camera combinations and lens combinations for you?
I'm going to say it depends, and then I'm going to specify. Sorry for saying it depends again. but I really think that the choice of the camera and lenses should depend on the movie you're shooting. So I don't think there is a perfect combination that you can apply to every script. But amongst the cameras I shot with, I love Alexa's cameras, because I think they have a very good accuracy in the colors, and it's very easy to use and like put LUTs in it and play with the look inside the camera. And also I think they're very easy to, like, on the shoulder, like the weight is very well balanced. Then some other cameras you're always like struggling because it's too heavy on the front, or it never happened to me with an Alexa camera. Sometimes with the Alexa Mini, when you use big lenses, it's not well balanced, but it's so easy to have such a small camera that you can put everywhere. So I like Alexa's cameras. And then I recently shot with the Sony Venice, and it was a movie that happened a lot in the night. And this camera is very sensitive. I think it can shoot at 2500 ISO. So it's very sensitive. And so I took a lot of light because I'm used to shooting at 800. And I went in the streets and realized that there were too much light for the camera because it's so sensitive. So I think that, for example, like for this movie, it was absolutely perfect to shoot in the streets because you didn't have anything to do, and you could like play with the lights of the cars, and they would light the character's face, and that was great for this film. But maybe maybe it doesn't work for all the films.
Great, I understand. Yeah, so Sony Venice is one camera we should look forward to, especially during low lights. Okay.
And I would love to shoot on film. Like I did that only once in school, and most of when I see a film and I love the image, most of the times it's shot on film. And I love like how organic the image is in a way. So I would love to have the opportunity. But again, I think you have to choose the right project for that. Because for example, it's if the actors improvise a lot, maybe it's not the right choice, or it depends on what you want to do.
Great, thank you.
I'm curious to have your opinions on that also.
Sure, Sri first. Sri.
Well, of course, Alexa. I mean, the dynamic range is really good. The latitude is good. And even the color science behind the camera is really good. The way in which we render colors are way better than rest of the cameras. I have not yet worked with Sony Venice, but I've worked with Sony FS7. That is also pretty good. But yeah, the Red Dragons of the world, they're good for commercials. And yeah, it depends on the movie, as you rightly said, like what is the project all about, and then you choose your camera accordingly. But I think I would bet on Alexa anytime. You're right.
Vivian.
Yeah, I think I would also go with Alexa, but also like it depends on the project, on the script, and a lot of other things. But my personal choice, if I have to choose, Alexa. And I didn't shoot a lot. I just did one small like commercial on the Sony Venice, and like it also has like a dual native ISO, which helps a lot. So I think I would go for Alexa or the Sony over the Red. I don't know, like I'm not a big fan of Red. I mean, even though I've shot a lot on Red, but I still feel like Alexa and the Venice.
Red, Naomi, personal experiences with Red were that it's very sensitive to low light. It's not at all sensitive to low light. It gives you a lot of noise if you don't have enough light. It gives you that digital feel. It's not pretty organic. It can mess up colors big time, seriously big time. If you throw a lot of colors on Red, if you're shooting a lot of colors, if it's a very vibrant scene, it tends to mix, for example, some shades of red might look all the same. some shades of
Okay.
green might all look the same. It's sensitive to blue. Personal experience. It is sensitive to blue. It can show you differences in blues, but reds are not good at showing red. I'll say it like that. The red
So
cameras are not good at showing red color.
for a C movie then.
Yeah.
I can, yeah, basically that. But the quality, it it doesn't give you that organic, natural feel. Even if you want to start with a pretty raw footage, you won't get that natural feel, and you won't be able to edit that properly. I've seen better cameras for like much cheaper. Um, my first-hand experience with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, 6K, 4K. These are pretty cheap cameras, but they give out these nice-looking raw images that you can do anything with in
Oh wow.
DaVinci Pro or a software like that. So that was a pretty, outstanding move by Blackmagic to actually make cheaper cameras which actually give you a lot of dynamic range. So definitely something to look over there. But I don't see any other questions. So
Also,
Naomi,
if I had an option and like the budget and everything, I would always go for film. Like recently I've been started shooting like a lot of photos on film, like just to get used to, like, I mean, it's not moving, it's just stills, but like still like the whole process of like shooting on film, it's just like you said, it's more organic and more like it's something different.
yeah.
And I think Alexa is like the closest that it gets to film, like the look.
Yeah.
Are they shooting on film a lot in India and the US?
I think it depends on the budget. Like in the US, I think there are few movies they shoot, but like not a lot of people. I don't think so. Yeah, but like that, yeah, definitely like people are like trying to get back to film.
Shooting film. All right. I think that concludes the session for today. Thank you so much, Naomi, for being with us.
Thank
Definitely,
you.
Naomi,
Thank
I
you.
would highly
It was great.
thank you. Thank you so much. I would highly suggest if you can join us tomorrow and the
Yeah.
coming days too. It
Yeah,
happens on
I
the
couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't join the other one because I was in the countryside and I was such a bad internet connection. But now
yeah.
I'm back in Paris, so I will be there.
Sure, definitely join us for the upcoming sessions. I initially planned on just doing 14 sessions for 2 weeks, but now, this quarantine is going to go on for a little more longer. So, everybody is at their home, and let's actually speak much more about filmmaking and cinematography. Let's actually talk much more about filmmaking and cinematography. We would love to have you in the upcoming sessions with us,
Yeah.
joining us.
Are you allowed to go out in India? How is it happening?
We can. I mean, since yesterday, we can actually go out in India. You can buy your groceries. You can go to, just the basic shops are open as of now. All the essential shops are open as of now. You cannot like go to a mall. You cannot watch movies. They will remain closed, I think, for the rest of the year. The
Wow.
things like
So
things like movie theaters. I mean, they will remain closed all around the world for the next year, I guess,
yeah.
for this year at least. So malls will remain closed and all that. Any public place, which like stadiums, you cannot go watch sports. You cannot do that. Just stay at your home, go to your job, come back, and that's it. But things are starting to improve in India. But as they improve, so are the cases of coronavirus
Wow.
increasing day by day. So, anyways, we'll be staying home. We'll be talking about filmmaking and cinematography. And once it comes the time to actually shoot, I think we'll all have been done our homework pretty,
Yeah.
pretty extensively. I've been
We'll have
thinking
we'll
a
have
lot. Really, yeah, definitely.
we'll have so
So.
much energy from sleeping so much.
Yeah, exactly. And essentially talking to each other about our own views, because we get to discuss a lot and ask each other. So definitely tomorrow we'll be having a session with Alejandra Rubiera, Ale, as we know her. I think
Oh, I know
Naomi
her.
has.
Yeah.
you have met her, right? So she is currently in Mexico. She'll be taking a session about, first AC in general, and also touching about tonight's topic about, the life behind the camera, and much more talking about AC, going into detail about, I'll just share my iPad screen with you.
I
There
love how
you go.
international this is.
Exactly. I love it. It is trying to connect. Okay, so this app that you see on screen right now is called the Red Tools. It is specifically for the Red cameras. Why we are choosing Red, like as an introduction to camera settings and all that, because everyone has shot on Red, and they might shoot on Red for the coming time. So,
Even
it will be.
Alexa, I mean, if people want to practice, even if they go on the site, they
Yes,
have like thing.
there's a Ari Alexa app
So if, yeah.
that is over in the
Wow.
iPad. So yeah, you can go through these apps, but we'll be talking in detail about these apps tomorrow. Also, I would love to share another screen with you. Hold on.
There's one for light as well now.
Yes,
Alexa.
Shri,
Yeah,
there is
Alexa.
definitely one for light, and that I think Vivian will be covering. Vivian will also be introducing us to Astra lights, and how you can create scenes with it. You can control, you can make different scenarios, and we'll be getting into details of lighting with Vivian. Also, from tomorrow, I think we'll just start with the story that Jenna introduced us to. We'll be working on that. We'll be creating some floor plans and like what kinds of lenses will be used, and we'll be definitely working on a story. So Naomi, to catch up, we have been working on a story. Jenna give it to us. Jenna, if you know, she was also one of our classmates in Young Film Academy. So she did a session on storytelling, the art of storytelling, and she gave us a story where three turtles go to a rave party, and they smoke lettuce, they drink lettuce juice, and they get like super high, and now they're out of money, and essentially they end up robbing the bank, and during that process they want to get more money, and during that process they end up going to jail. So that was the whole story, right? We had
I
three
was supposed
characters.
to I was supposed to shoot that.
No, we are just making up.
Oh.
We'll be doing actual pre-production on that. Okay, we'll be we already know the characters pretty well. I think it was it was in some chat from a few days ago. So I'll get that out again. Basically, the whole script was written in the chat box of that day. So I'll bring that out again, and we'll be creating some floor plans. We'll be doing short list properly. If you guys want to see, for the guys who are watching us right now, I'll share two things. Okay, this is for tomorrow. Let me share with you right now. This is for tomorrow if it appears properly, but I think it won't. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why this app does not flip. This is through my iPhone right now. So this app is called Donna. It gives you all kinds of red cameras to work with. And for example, you want to just look for Epic or Scarlett 6.0X. Now this screen you see I don't know how to flip this screen. I'm sorry guys, I'm so sorry. But the screen you see over here is the menu of a red camera. Now you can go into all the settings, the compression ratio, the format you will be shooting in, the aspect ratio, everything is selectable. I mean, it's essentially the menu of red camera. So the SSD is plugged in. You can see many different kinds of formats. So this is basically a red camera in your iPhone.
I also shared the link for the Ari Alexa cameras. It's a website. You can just go in there, and all the cameras they have. You just go into the camera and you can literally play around with the tools and everything. So if
Open simulator in full screen. So definitely go check that website out. But let me give you a brief on what we'll be talking this whole week. We'll be starting from tomorrow. Naomi, we want you to stay with us for the whole week to give your input.
Yeah.
So
I try, but I start working on Thursday. I start shooting a short film that wasn't finished from before the pandemic. So maybe I won't be there like Thursday, Friday, but I try to be there tomorrow and the day after.
All right. So to whosoever is listening, this is basically a production package. This is not a formal production package, but a formal production package is like a 1,000-page document that is, made by the production department or something like that. This is a basic production package for like a short movie you want to produce. You want somebody else to produce, so you can show this to them. So it's an example from a production workshop that I DP'd, and Ahmed, who was with us day before yesterday, was the director of this production workshop. So you basically start with your location. You tell us about where this location is, what will be the time of shoot, and a picture of the location. You give a detail about the crew. This is what we'll be talking about. This is the lookbook. Why, Vivian? Why are you laughing?
No, I said I was going to leave because I have to get.
You want to leave?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just one more minute. Okay, give me one more minute. So
Okay.
this is essentially the lookbook. We'll be talking about lookbook with Vivian in detail. Also, how we could match this to. How you could show the lookbook to your gaffer and actually, give him a great sense of what a DP actually wants or a director actually wants. Then comes the short list. We'll be talking about this from tomorrow. And then also the essential part about floor plans in terms of, the basic layout of the set, the shots themselves, the electrical department floor plan, the lighting department floor plan, and also talk about how you decide actors and how do you present them. Some basic camera settings are also included sometimes, and some special equipment are also included. So this is basically a rough presentation of how a production package is made, and we'll be doing that same for the turtle story that we started with. So
did you do that on Shot Deck, on Shot Designer, like the?
Yeah, it was on Shot Designer. I might have the same file with me, or we'll just make a new one. We'll just make a new one and start from there. So, all right. We end this session for today over here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi, for joining in. We'll be catching you guys tomorrow. Stay tuned for the session with Ale, where we talk about assistant camera in general. And Naomi, please join us tomorrow. Vivian, please join us tomorrow. Shri has already, Shri is still here. Shri, join us tomorrow. And everyone who's listening, do join us tomorrow and the coming days. So thank you so much, guys. Stay safe, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Yeah, stay safe.
Thank you, Naomi. Great session. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Great session, Shri. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Shri. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye-bye.